Yes, a very good evening to you tuned into UBC TV. We thank you so much for following all our work in terms of news, programs, and all that we produce for your consumption. Welcome to this week's edition of One-on-One with Michael Jordan Lukomwa. We are in the elections mood. We are visiting the different political parties. Just the previous one, we had the FDC and they gave us how they are faring. We discussed a number of affairs within their camp and we are visiting other people. Now, we have the opportunity this time round to talk to the party in the stewardship of the country. How are they faring? We see a lot with them and we have an opportunity to ask them how they are handling, and that is the National Resistance Movement. We have the Secretary General of the party, the man in charge of the administration of the whole party in the whole country, and definitely he's going to give us the right answers. He's not a new face on the show. His name is the Right Honorable Richard Todwong. And join me, welcome him. Sir, we are so glad to have you once again on the show. How are you as the party currently, as we the political heat is shaking the whole country?
We have been completely busy with internal preparations for the next general election. We started with the reorganizing our party register. I'm sure you all recall that in the last general election, our register as a party had issues. So we devoted a little more time in coming up with a fair register. I can't say it's perfect, but at least it's much better
than
whatever we've been using before. We took this register to the ground 3 times. We digitalized it, we edited it, we took it back to the population, we called for Barazas. I'm sure you recall that His Excellency, the President, attended his village Baraza together with the First Lady who went to her own village, and all other leaders of the party. Everybody was directed by the National Chairman to go to his village to participate in the Baraza. That Baraza was very important because it was the audit for the register. Because in that Baraza, we were reading names of those who registered in our books to the village assembly. And then the village members were free to comment on each and every name, whether the name is for that particular village or not. So it was a very important exercise. The second one is now we went through nomination of the special interest groups.
Yes.
They picked nomination forms for the party. We endorsed these forms, and they have gone back to the National Electoral Commission and have been nominated. Nominations ended, I think, on 10th. We are now for campaigns, and voting will be between the 16th, 17th, and 18th of this month. For special interest groups, for youth, PWDs, and elders.
Yes.
So we are ready as a party, and in all the villages of Uganda, we have candidates. And many of these candidates have already gone unopposed from the preliminary reports I'm getting in many areas of Uganda. So the party is very much
unopposed at the party level, internally or nationally.
Internally, they were elected by their peers.
These are flag bearers.
Flag bearers, yeah, exactly. So these flag bearers were nominated by the National Electoral Commission in many areas unopposed. No another party came to contest with our flag bearers.
We also saw the elections of the structure elections of the party. How did that go, in your view, as the main administrator of the party?
The registration process went on so well because we registered 20 million Ugandans.
I'm talking about now the election.
I'm coming to that.
Okay.
Because the election comes after the members have been registered.
That is true.
So with the 20 million members, we removed those under 18 and those who could have passed on and all that. We remain with about 18.5 million voters. These are 18 years and above. And with that, we went now for the structure elections of the party. And these structure elections were heavily contested and competitive. That for every position, there were candidates running for against each other. Right from chairpersons of the village, executive members of the village, all our leagues were very competitive up to the district level. We have about 4 districts that we did not conclude because of how tense and competitive these elections were. This is Sembabule. There is a lot of tension in Sembabule, and leaders of Sembabule are coming to Kampala tomorrow for a mediation meeting. We have not concluded with Arua City because Arua City, there is tension in the divisions of the city, and then the community of Aivu They are asking that we either give them more divisions or we give them a district status. There is already a divided opinion about that. So we cannot conclude the election at the top. We elected from the bottom up to the sub-counties. We have not concluded with the Lango in Lira district and Amolata district because of also the tension that is there among the leaders on the ground. Okay. But other places we have concluded and all the leaders have been elected, and we are happy that the elections went on very peacefully.
The register, in the areas where you say you still have issues to sort out, talk of Sembabule, Lira, and some other places, a few of them, some of the complaints that leaders have are to do with the register. Some people say he has a copy, he has put his people, he has, I've also heard of stories in Gomba and some other areas. They have added people, they brought names we don't know. How again did that come up?
One thing we can assure members is that the register we have is not inflated by any way. Those that they claim they have that have been inflated are not from us. Yes, one or two could have either photocopied the original register that we took to the villages and could have added illegal names on the photocopy that he or she might have.
He's moving around with.
And secondly, some of our registers could have been compromised by candidates at all levels. But we can assure members that the register that we have and we have sent to the ground is very authentic, because on average, we have about 300 members per village. And that is the average. Any village with more than 300 members must either be an urban village or a heavily populated district.
Okay.
And we know these districts. You talk of Yumbe, you talk of Iganga, you talk of Wakiso, you talk of Kampala. We know the districts that are heavily populated. So by just sampling, you can know that if, for example, my district and my village, which is called Tangi village in Porongo Town Council, Noya district, if the register of Tangi village has 1,000 members, for example,
yes,
then there will be a question mark. Because I know the members of my village are not even 500.
The whole village?
The whole village. So you cannot say the members in my village are 1,000. That will be ridiculous. And such registers we have taken note and we have corrected. And because of that, we have been able to identify some of those cases in our register. And during the digitalization, we weeded them all out. And what we have, I can confidently say, is very authentic.
As a party, how do you fail to preside over individual members, candidates, because you know how politicians behave, who end up with a copy of the register, he may do anything with it. How do they access the copies?
There are two things. One, the how. Two, what the law provides.
Okay.
Let me start with the how.
Yes.
The how is our polling stations at village level. We have 72,000 villages in Uganda.
Yes.
The National Electoral Commission polling station is at parish level, and they have about 38,000 polling stations in Uganda. So the National Resistance Movement Party has more polling stations than the National Electoral Commission.
Because you are at the
village level.
Okay.
Now, because of that, definitely, even if we ask Uganda Police Force to give us all the manpower they have, we ask UPDF to give us everybody they have, and yet for security you have to deploy two persons per polling station. Meaning we would need close to 140,000 security personnel. Where shall we get them? So because of this, some of our candidates took advantage of the wider coverage we make, where there's a little supervision, and they could have manipulated our process.
Being the politicians that they are.
But this has not been too common, because the voters are also very much alert of their rights and the way this voting, because in the guidelines we sent, it was very clear that one, there will be no voting in anybody's home. It should be in a public gazetted area, either a football field, a school, or an open space in a village. And the voting should start between 10 and 2 in the afternoon. With the lining up, you don't open the whole day for lining up, because that was what caused us problems in the past. That we opened from 8 to 5, anytime you are free to go and line up in a particular village. So you can just agree with the registrar of the village, and you say, this village, let us line up at 8, the other village at 10. So you sequence the whole village, the whole constituency, and you keep moving your crowd from one village to another to keep lining up, That happened in the past. But because we limited the time for lining up, everybody must be in his village between 10 to 2.
Yes.
You don't have time to run to another village to cause chaos.
What is the issue in Zimbabwe? Because personally, I covered 2020 primaries, and it had to call for heavy deployment of UPDF, the police, field force unit, not even these police officers of ours that run around with thieves, but field force. What could be the issue in Zimbabwe, especially within the NRM camp?
I think it's about personality differences. You find people who cannot work with each other well, and that is what is bringing problems. And if you see camps, it's about camps. Which camp do you belong to? Whose camp do you belong to? And these camps seem not to agree with each other. And because of that, they polarize the whole district and it causes chaos. And that is what has been happening. We send our registers to the ground, but we realize one person collected all the registers and kept them in his home, which caused problem to the rest of the... And then
the
allegations, which we are investigating, that the names of those who were in the register were not the names that were used in the voting. They brought new people from other districts to participate in the elections. So that because of that, we suspended any activity in the place. We are investigating, and we shall make a decision on what to do with the Zimbabwe.
But will the party ever manage to solve the problem in Zimbabwe? Because it seems very old and persistent.
The party is ready to crack the whip because under our constitution, Schedule 4 of the constitution, the courts and conducts of members are very clear. The do's and don'ts, it's very clear. All that members are doing, some of the activities they're involved in are illegal and they are against the party constitution. So the party is reorganizing. The national chairman of our disciplinary committee is Alhaji Moses Chigongo, and some of these leaders, we intend to bring them before the national disciplinary committee to be able, for the party to be able to control them.
Then the violence in the substructural elections. It was this one was not even only in Zimbabwe. We saw a story of somebody's mouth. By the end of the election, it was half. Another one, people ended up in hospitals being beaten. These are party elections. What could explain this?
It goes back to what motivates a candidate to offer himself to be a candidate. The national chairman of the party, President Yoweri Museveni, has always been reminding us that leadership is not just a job or career. You don't come into leadership to look for a job. You don't come into leadership to look for wealth. You don't come into leadership to look for personal gain. You come into leadership to serve your people. And you as an individual, you do not have the means to serve the people. It is the government that has the means to provide what your people need. You are just a coordinator between your people and the government. The services are with the government, and you are the messenger for your people. Use that, your time in parliament, your connections with the members of parliament and ministers that sits with you in parliament, and make sure the services that your people need are delivered to your people. We have decentralized governance to the local level. All districts are catered for. Every district gets allocation of the budget quarterly.
Yes.
Money for roads, money for water, money for health, education. So everything is at their disposal as leaders. But unfortunately, these leaders leave what is readily available and they start struggling for things which are not supposed to be done. You want to impress your people by buying an ambulance, government is providing yet ambulance. You want to impress your people by constructing a road, you can't afford to even do 1 kilometer of road. You want to impress your people by giving them money, government is already doing all that. Money for Emiyoga is with the people, money for PDM is with the people, youth camp fund is with the people, elderly funds is with the... So why can't you as a leader coordinate government efforts so that you don't, the president says, you don't carry the constituency on your head. Now for those who are doing that, are those who are panicking. Because you end up either mortgaging your property, going for loans which cannot be serviced, looking for money to do things that you cannot do. You just say you're a pretender.
Could this be why we see leaders having groups of youth that fight at these elections and cause mayhem.
That is true, because you see, these young people, all of them, their problems are the same. Actually, it's laughable to go to a village or a constituency where you find gangs and groups of young people who have been mobilized by leaders to fight one another. These youth that are fighting one another have the same common problems.
That is true.
They are all poor,
yes.
They're in the same village, they have no services, but leaders are fighting for position of leadership, not minding of the services they should provide to these people. And that is why I always remind our leaders in the party that, you see, at times when you hear the population cry, pay attention to what they say. But we are quick in shutting them down. We are quick in assuming that we know, and we don't listen to the people. You know, there is a professor in psychology once who said, when you walk on foot, the universe speaks to you. When you humble yourself, the universe communicates to you. The poor of the poorest will communicate to you.
Okay.
The ordinary person will communicate to you. And that voice of common person, that voice of the ordinary person, is what a leader needs to hear. Someone just is crying that we are paying high fees in the primary schools. Government is saying, let there be free UPE. But in your school, in your constituency, PTA is charging parents. And because of that, children are not studying. And you're a leader. That is what you should fix. You don't even need money to fix that. You just need a meeting with the parents and teachers in a particular school, and you make sure that that is not charged. If the school needs more money, you are in parliament, propose, come with a private member's bill to ask government to add capitation grant to primary schools. You would have done your constituency good service. You don't need to pay money for doing that. But they leave that, they want to pay money. The ordinary persons are saying, we don't have enough drugs in our health centers. For God's sakes, you are a member of parliament. You can monitor this and see National Drug Authority. How do they disburse drugs?
Yes.
When was the last time drugs were taken to your district?
That's what they have to do.
That is the thing leaders
they
should be
stray
able to
into
do.
political
Oversight role is one of the most important things of a member of parliament. But they don't do that. So you procure your popularity. You buy for people to see you are popular, when actually you are not. And that is why you cannot sustain a constituency. Many of them, 1 term, 2 terms, you are out. Because you have left.
He's relying on fake popularity.
We have been reminding them about this for a long time. Those who have listened have stayed in the parliament for a long time. Those who don't listen, they leave parliament with the debts. They leave parliament when they are exhausted. They have nothing, and they cannot even help themselves.
The CEC campaigns that have begun, we hear the warmth around. How is the party ready for this?
Very soon
we have started hearing comments crossing from this side.
We are trying to make proposals as a secretariat.
Yes.
If the proposal is bought by the party leadership, it will be great. Because you see, a member of a central executive committee
of a party,
of not only a party but a revolutionary party.
Okay.
A revolutionary party like NRM. For your information, most African revolutionary parties are collapsing. You talk of ANC, you talk of ZANU-PF, you talk of Frelimo, you talk
Chama
of...
Mapinduzi.
They are cracks. But all of them see NRM as the most solid party. I interact with them. All their secretary generals are my colleagues. We interact. And they admire NRM. Now, for you to be a member of the Central Executive Committee of a revolutionary party like NRM, you must be at a certain level of manners, of behaviors,
integrity, and respect.
So we feel we should not open SEC to anybody.
But how are you going to do it if these people only need to win elections?
That is where the
tragedy. Will you throw them out?
That is where the tragedy is. You are looking at SEC as another position for occupation. No. Actually, SEC is like an upper house. So for those people,
it would be board of directors for a company.
So you need to qualify to be at that level, to be able to understand certain things in depth, to be able to understand the philosophy of this revolutionary party, to be able to understand the ideology of this revolutionary party, to be able to understand
but indeed, the strategies of this political
party.
The people that come out to stand for SEC positions, everybody would look at them as senior. What does it say about the party if it is seniors that go into politicking that would be for fresh MPs?
Seniority is not in age, neither is it in anything. Seniority is in your manners, your behavior. Seniority is in your ability to comprehend the philosophy of your party. Seniority is about your record, your track record. That's what we are saying.
But what does it say about the party?
Now,
if these are the old people that we see.
This is a party that was not founded on the streets like other parties. This is a party where people died for, blood was shed for. It rescued a country which was completely ruined. We have heroes that we sing about. So it's not a party that anybody can come and play around with. And therefore, for you to qualify to sit on that sanitized table of the Central Executive Committee of the party, you must be of a certain caliber. So we are making proposals, and we pray and hope that our proposal is passed.
You're not sharing any of the proposals?
No, we are making proposals.
Because these people are watching TV.
Oh,
they
yes,
need to know that this is going to happen, this is going to happen. Share some.
No, we are making proposals. We shall share at the right time. It's too soon for me to give you. But the
elections are around the corner.
We feel such high-level positions should be held by people with integrity.
May we end up with appointments?
No, they will be elected. But for you to be elected, for you to qualify to be a candidate, you have to pass through sieving, certain stages of sieving.
But I think that's how it has been even before.
Yes, but we need to add more of the criteria.
You're going to tighten the...
We want to tighten a little.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had an interview with the Electoral Commission Chairman, Justice Simon Byabakama, and I asked him his view about Ugandan elections. He said he's sad we have monetized elections. What is your view?
That's a good question, because it's a structural issue.
Yes.
The structure of our economy, the structure of our politics. We have 46 million Ugandans, and of the 46 million Ugandans, the public service jobs are less than 600,000. So meaning only a small portion of the population are employed by government. Our economy is still growing, and the economy has not yet absorbed quite a number of the population that are working class.
Yes.
The other tragedy is that many of the educated people went through the education, but they got skills and qualifications that are not matching the requirements of the market. In a free economy where they employ you based on your skills and what you can add to a private sector, our education system has been mainly recruiting and training children who are clerical clerks, I would call that. We have knowledge, but the knowledge are not applicable.
Anywhere, practically.
Practical. When we were studying, those who went to technical schools were being despised. But now, those who went to technical schools are the employers in the market.
Yes.
For us who went to mainstream universities, you have,
to work for those guys
with your good paper, first class degree, upper second, you have done development studies, you have done English in Uganda, you have studied. So the courses we study and the degrees we get, if you go with these papers to an employer in an industry, you don't qualify. Because that employer would need a machine operator, would need somebody who can package his product.
ICT technician.
We need the ICT technician. So the knowledge we have, very few employers are benefiting from
Need
this.
it.
And that is why I once again applaud President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni for initiating these training centers to equip our young people with the skills and knowledge that the market requires. And also, the Minister of Education is changing the education curriculum to be able for us to teach children practical skills that once you're out of the university as a graduate, you're not even supposed to be looking for a job from anybody. You should create your own job. Education should help you become critical in thinking and job creation. So these are things that we are focusing at. Now, because of the bulk of the problem, and by the way, this is not only in Uganda, it affects all sub-Saharan African countries. You go to Nairobi, Kenya, the same problem is in Nairobi. You go to Dar es Salaam, the same problem is in Dar es Salaam. You go to whichever country you go to.
We have so many people, very educated, they can only seek employment in politics.
And that is why I am saying NUP should stop exciting young people wrongly. Because they are exciting young people wrongly without providing solutions. The structure of our economy, the structure of our governance, the structure of our continent is that we have inherited economic and political institutions that have held us for a long time as conduit to the colonial administration. But we cannot keep lamenting on that. What we are now doing is we are fighting ourselves out of that legacy of colonization that we were left with.
Yes.
Now we are trying to create an independent, fully stable economy which is self-reliant as per our policy directives. Now, that would require that an education system which responds to the needs of our people. That requires that we need to have an intellectual class that understands the journey that we have traveled, the state of the development we have reached, the GDP, the investment level, and the kind of investment we need. And that is why in the past, if you may recall, the president was very, very emphatic to say, let us increase the salaries of science teachers. Because science and technology drives the economy. If you look at the social systems, how America, how Europe, all that developed, you look at the social stages of development, from the slave trade period, the primitive stage, pre-capitalist system, the capitalist system, all that from one stage to another, the primer for development was education and science and technology that pushed society from one stage to another. Because of that, educated people like you and me, we run for low-hanging fruits.
Yes.
What are these low-hanging fruits? For me to be a member of parliament, the only qualification I need is senior 6.
Yes.
But I now have a degree. That means I'm overqualified, so I can go and try my luck there. The second thing I need is just to speak well.
Confuse a few
people, and let me be voted. I have to impress more than my... So I impress voters based on how much money I can give them. Again, someone would say it is an indicator of a failed system because what I'm giving the voters, the government should be able to provide. But we are not a social state. We are a democracy that works in partnership with administrators at all levels.
Okay.
The government of NRM has a decentralized governance that is giving opportunities to everybody at all levels. Leaders are supposed to follow this to make sure that they are done in their area.
A few weeks ago, Parliament passed 2 bills. One of them was the Political Party Amendments Bill, where if you're no longer, if you don't participate in IPOD activities, this money you political parties have been enjoying from the Electoral Commission will be withheld. A number of political parties are saying, let them keep their money. We shall not go to IPOD unless A, B, C, D. At least I've heard the NUP, for example, and PFF, the new party. They say they must first of all accept to talk about our people that they torture, they incarcerate illegally and put into cells illegally, things like that. Then we sit on the table. They should accept to talk. They are listing a number of things that the iPod ignores to talk about. Will you sit in the iPod alone as the NRM? Are you ready to be there? Because as far as I know, you sit on a forum of Secretary Generals in the iPod. These guys, as if they are taking vows, if it means not taking this money, we are ready.
Not really, actually. At the moment, I'm the chair of iPod Council.
Yes.
I chair the meeting of all Secretary Generals. And our thinking is not the way you're thinking.
Okay.
Our thinking is different. iPod, yes, we know iPod is to help handle those issues that other comrades are complaining about.
Yes.
And for your information, in the
they
past,
say you have not paid attention to these issues?
in the last general election, when members of NUP were arrested in Kalangala, it was out of IPOD summit that leaders of UPC and DP pleaded on behalf of NUP, because NUP boycotted that meeting. They were not members of IPOD. It was Honorable Norbert Mao and Honorable Jim Akena who spoke on behalf of NUP that members of NUP who were arrested should be released for those who don't have issues to explain. And they were released. It was out of IPOD summit. Now, if they're saying IPOD is not beneficial to them, that is one key example they should know. Two, about the money, NUP earns more money than all other political parties under IPOD.
In the opposition.
In the opposition.
Yes.
Now they are saying, yes, be responsible enough. NUP, you are talking about Uganda. DP, you are talking about Uganda. UPC, you are talking about Uganda. NRM, you are talking about Uganda. PPP, you are talking about Uganda. JEMA, you are talking about Uganda. FDC, you are talking about. Uganda is the common denominator for all of us.
Yes.
Why can't we sit together and talk about this Uganda we claim we love? What is wrong with you coming to sit on the same table? If I have made a mistake as NRM, let us have a forum where you can criticize me on my face, not through a TV, not through a press conference.
They say you are not good listeners as the NRM, as the party in charge of the administration of the country. They don't expect you to listen.
Well,
actually, the phrase they use, we can't negotiate when you have your knee on my neck.
No, but you see, you don't complain from outside. You complain from inside. You complain officially. For example, whatever is admissible in court must be presented before the court. You don't say you criticize the court from the outside. You need to go and register officially and you put your complaint. If you have issues with IPOD, come and present it before the IPOD members. You say, yes, thank you for inviting us, but because of ABCD, we are disagreeing with you. We can agree on this, but we disagree on that. That becomes logical and matured in a manner. But when you don't even present that coherently, you just don't want everything. They propose this, you don't want. They propose this, you don't want. And yet you want to be a leader. What kind of a leader will you be?
What is your view about the complaints that they forward? Some of them that we can all see sometimes glaring. They complain of the arrests, they complain of the arrests, violence. I wanted to talk about violence in elections separately, but we'll bring it in here. When you look at what was in Kawempe during the election, their candidates beaten, things like that. Does these occurrences justify what they say? And how do you go about them as the party in charge?
I have shared this with my friends many times. There is a difference between the state and government. There's a difference. We contest governance. We don't contest the state. NRM is going for election to preside over government. The state will remain. That even during campaigns, during elections, the state must be secure, Bank of Uganda must be intact, the security installations must be intact, the police should continue guiding the peace. Those things are standard, whether I take over government or not, whether NUP is in power or not. So we campaign against each other on the issues of governance, on policy matters. Now, if we go for elections and the rules are don't conduct meetings in the markets, in public areas like markets, like taxi parks, like bus parks, political meetings, write to the police, work with the police, let them guide you where to hold your meetings. During COVID, in the last general election, they say because of COVID,
no rallies.
No rallies, no processions. Go and have small meetings in town halls with your coordinators, with your leaders, and make sure that they keep SOPs for COVID. Now, all that were regulations that were put. Our friends, where they get into trouble is they defy all that and they go opposite. And then they interact with the state. That is where the problem is.
On a number of instances, our security operatives are found on the wrong side of how they implement the guidelines. In Kawempe, we had to run away with our cameras when they were beating a candidate after his nomination. You get? Now, instances like that, don't they justify These claims by the
Kawempe incident was regrettable. It was very unfortunate, and that was why the president ordered for an audit of what happened in Kawempe. How the military got involved, why didn't the police take charge of the campaigns, why were the boxes which were already with the ballot papers kicked, who kicked those boxes, who could have caused the chaos. That was why we petitioned court for that election, because you cannot afford to cancel results from more than 15 polling stations. That was very, very unfortunate. And then candidates were being arrested. So there was a lot of confusion and mess in Kawempe. And that is not how we also want to participate in an election as NRM. We want a free ground where we campaign equally with the rest. And we explain ourselves. It affected all of us. Kawempe did not only affect opposition, but it also affected us. Because we had a candidate whom we sponsored, but the results were not declared effectively. Some results were missing, other polling stations were not declared. So it affected us, and that was how that violence cost all of us as parties. No, that should be the beginning of the concern for all political parties, that if there is chaos caused by one party or by supporters of a particular party, all other parties will be affected. And that is what we are saying. Under IPOD, we can engage government officially that yes, Electoral Commission, we are going for campaigns, you have given us these guidelines, but we as political players, we feel this should be discussed.
The Kawempe incident takes me to now looking at 2026. It made people make statements like, this tells you what is going to happen in 2026. We are worried about 2026. Kawempe incident is just showing 2026 is going to be bloody. We are worried and what would your message to Ugandans in as far as violence in elections is concerned, and the people, the different players in their different capacity? Justice Byabakama said, everybody should play their part. People in security, do what we ask you to do. Don't go overboard. What would be your view?
Violence in elections are caused by players, by participants. These are candidates or their sponsors or their political parties. If we discipline our lots, if NRM can discipline its candidates, if NUP can discipline its members, if DP, all these political parties can discipline their members, then definitely we shall have a peaceful election.
Do you think it's you politicians?
That is the main reason why IPOD must exist.
Yes.
Because we need to use IPOD platform to caution ourselves as leaders in different political forums.
At the ground, do you think it's you politicians or political players that cause the drama that ends up with blood and people in hospitals?
It all starts with the interests of the political players. Because when we don't guide our supporters to respect each other, to respect others who don't support us, then they meet at the polling station, they meet in the village, they start fighting. Because you give them alcohol, you give them drugs. At times, I'm told drugs are given to other supporters of other candidates, and theirs is just violent, to fight. Why would you create that among young people? You should go for peace. I compete with you, you defeat me, we shake hands, you go. I wait for my chance next time. Opposition defeated us in some constituencies in the past. We allowed and we shook their hands and they went. We defeated them in many elections, and they know that. So if we can allow defeats from both sides, why can we work together? That which is paining them, why can they bring it over and we discuss?
Let's talk about the concluded his presidential PDM tours. How did it go? You're talking about the different service delivery. You said the NRM has done everything. You have been with the president in the different villages in all the regions. Do you see a semblance of that you have done everything as the party in the leadership? The
president has fought many battles. He liberated this country from nothing to where we have reached. The population has grown, the literacy level has increased, the GDP per capita has increased. We are now a middle-income country. All this has struggled that the president led. But to see him reducing himself to again lead another front of fighting poverty in vulnerable households in our country, that was humbling. To see a president going to a village woman, seeing what is happening in her life, what is happening in her home, and how the PDM money has helped such a person, that is worth applauding. Because in the past, the poverty level, the households that were in subsistence production in Uganda were at 68%. When OWC came, that figure reduced to about 37, 38%. Now, with the intervention of PDM, it has even reduced further to about 33%. Our target is to make sure that every homestead in this country is out of subsistence production, that you can produce for the market and you have food security and you're living a peaceful life. That is our mission as a party. And when you see the president going out
himself
to physically check, it shows you the commitment of a revolutionary leader. This is a revolutionary method of work. And therefore, we thank him for coming out and checking physically what this money has done to the people. In some of the areas, the meetings were very interesting. Because just like his style, which is very interesting, the president would come out and say, yes, we have sent this amount of money to your district for PDM. How many of you received this money? By show of hands in this meeting. Then you see people putting up their hands. Then you say, okay, each of you is supposed to receive 1 million shillings. How much did you receive? So it gets down to the accountability of the money, which is what the people love so much. And then it puts the real leaders who are at the grassroots to explain where part of the money has gone and what could have happened with the rest of the money. And it's also helping to check misuse of government facilities and government resources. So easy meetings have been very, very successful. He's going to conclude with a few areas in Uganda, which he has not covered. But the rest of the country, I can speak without any fear of contradiction, with the pride that PDM money has gone to the households. And it's
Successfully.
working successfully.
How about the complaints that we hear of money mishandled by the officials in charge, beneficiaries that have used the money for things that are not the target?
Those complaints are always there, and they'll always be there, because you don't expect weaknesses in anything. Everything that you do, the law of the negation, if you might read a bit of political philosophy, that there is the direct opposite of everything you do. Where there is up, there is down. Where there is a movement forward, there is movement backward.
Yes.
Where there is, so where there is success, where you're recording success, where there is money going, others are removing that money. It's a human nature, the law of nature. But it is not to say it can be used to discredit the program. By far, the program has succeeded to a tune of close to 95%. If that 5% had weaknesses, then we look forward to fix the 5% weakness that was there. Many districts implemented this program to the dot, but a few districts, of course, had challenges with the technical people misappropriating a few of the money.
2026, how ready are you? Parties are warming up. Yesterday, the NUP re-elected Honorable Kyagulanyi as their president. The DP brought back Honorable Norbert Mao. The UPC are preparing for their delegates conference, and many others. There are new parties on the floor. There is the DF, there is the PFF, and all these parties, their target is you leaving office.
That is where we stand above all of them. You see, that is a very classical definition of poor ideology, because their target should not be NRM. Their target should not be President Yoweri Museveni. Their target should be poverty, illiteracy, backwardness, poor service delivery.
But these are things they can only do when they are in power.
You see, and that is where they have been missing out the point. You cannot go to the place, to a campaign, and your campaign, the manifesto is about President Museveni. That cannot be a campaign manifesto.
But if he's the man seated in the office I want to take.
President Yoweri Museveni's manifesto is about education, about health, about peace and security, about agriculture, about this. They lack explanation about this. You ask anybody new, what is their vision about peace and security in this country? What is their plan about education? What is their plan about
peace
health?
And security? They say they want to pay every the first-class police and UPDF officer 1 million. Because they believe a well-paid UPDF or police officer will give a better service.
That is being shallow in defining peace and security. Peace and security is bigger than that. It's deeper than that. And that's why I'm saying we can invite them to help them understand the true meaning of peace, security, and stability of a nation. They are thinking very small. And that is why we're saying that small thinking should be broadened for them to see a bigger picture of the country.
How do they end up beating you in some constituencies?
Because of what we have been explaining. Manipulations, sycophancies, and all this. But when you go to the gist, the real day-to-day issues, I want to tell you, even if it were me in opposition, if it were me in opposition, I would use what they use. Because I just need quick win. And that quick win is like someone is sick of malaria, but you're giving him painkiller to just remove the pain. You're not resolving the problem. I am saying go to constituencies that were being led by new MPs. For the last 5 years, what have they changed in those constituencies? Have they changed anything in those constituencies? They campaign that Museveni is bad, they should be elected so that they come and remove President Museveni. Has Museveni gone? What is the state of their constituency?
It is a process.
And he's still coming. Museveni is still coming back. They should get used to that.
It is a process. So
the issue is, let them refocus their energies into real tangible things than things which do not matter. In our manifesto, we don't speak about any political party. We speak about the real issues of Ugandans. How I wish they can come to terms with that. Our schools that we are proud of, the UPE programs, is educating children from everybody, whether in UPC, FDC, NUP, those children are studying. That is what we pride in. The roads we build that they used to drive on and go and abuse us on the radios that we have liberalized and licenses, all those are success of NRM. But we clap our hands and say, yes, it's working. We wanted you to do that. When you criticize us, we improve. When you don't criticize us, we don't improve. So you are doing well. When there is peace and security, Chagolanya can afford to sleep in a car by the roadside and wait for the morning, then he continued with his journey. In the past, that they don't want to know, would you do that and in any government in Uganda? That you are an opponent of a government, you sleep by the roadside in your car, you wake up in the morning, you slap a police and you continue driving. Oh.
You said you have 18 million supporters. Actually, you said after removing
voters.
Yes. After removing those below 18. The
We
Electoral
are
Commission
getting
says it has
reports
20.
After the update, they could be going to 23, 24 million.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, isn't that so does the NRM have 90% of the voters in Uganda as their supporters?
We should even have more. Because we started as a movement system. Everybody was in a movement. You remember that?
Isn't this...
We open up, hold on, I need to explain that because
yes.
Many people think we are just a small fraction of the population.
And many have ended up doubting your register basing on that.
They should not doubt because we have tested it. If it was wrong in our internal structure election, that would have come out. Actually, we are even saying, we are questioning that most likely Ugandans are more than 46 million. Because if you look at, we have 18 million voters, okay? And the National Electoral Commission has upgraded with a new update. They are at about 23, 24 million. If the figure comes out, we shall confirm. Now, of this, how many of our members are in the data of Electoral Commission? You should also know that not every registered member of a party, NRM,
yes,
has National Voter Register. Is in the National Voter Register. So we are now working to make sure that all our members
are convinced to go and register with the Electoral Commission.
Are registered with the National Electoral Commission. One of the things we discovered is that some of our members were not registered in the National Electoral Commission.
How sure are you don't have members that have registered with PFF, PDP, NUP, and now with NRM?
There are also those such types. They have registered in all political parties.
So,
but for us, we take...
Aren't you proud of people that are not reliable?
No. What happened is that's why we did a lot of auditing of our register. We have screened our members. We have taken these books back to the villages once, twice, 3 times. We have done Barazas in the villages and have audited the registers name by name. And members have confirmed that so-and-so is in our village. We know this, we know so-and-so, we know so-and-so. We have done that. And that is why we are very confident of our member and our numbers.
You are blamed, not you the person, but the party NRM, of interfering clandestinely into the workings of other political parties to weaken them in your advantage as a party?
We don't have time to waste.
People misinterpret, people look at your ways as a party that is doing that. Would you clarify what is between the NRM and the DP? For example, what is between the NRM and the UPC?
But you know,
is it a cooperation, an alliance, friendship, marriage?
We are not tricksters like other parties in Uganda here. There are parties that have been in Uganda for long and they are looked at as parties of conmen, parties of tricksters.
Which one is that?
A revolutionary party, you know them, you go and research. A revolutionary party of like NRM does not behave like that. One thing I admire with my leader, President Yoweri Museveni, who is my mentor, he does not lie. His word, when he speaks A today, the A will remain A tomorrow. He doesn't lie. Now, if I can speak like a political scientist, that which you have mentioned is exactly what a political party must do.
Clandestinely.
Exactly.
Weaken other parties.
Politically, I should be doing that. To make sure I weaken NUP, I weaken DP, I weaken UPC, I weaken... But my national chairman said... No,
so
no,
you're not falsely accused?
Listen to me well.
Okay.
My national chairman is saying, don't bother with them. They will fail on their own. Why? Because they have missed the point. They don't know why they have a political party, and they don't know what should be the work of a political party. They are concentrating on things which do not matter to Ugandans. The parties of the past were parties which were concentrating on dividing Ugandans on religion, tribes, and all sorts of creed. NRM came and united the people. We speak about the common goal for Ugandans. We take the mass line that when we do this, it benefits everybody. And that is our biggest achievement. So this now, for someone to say we are interfering in their internal, why would we waste time when we have too much leadership in our internal arrangement that we don't even need leaders to come and work for us?
So that is not true.
What is happening in DP, we don't even know. Whether there is DP1, DP2, it's their business. What is happening in UPC? Because all these parties have cracked into two. UPC is now UPC of Akana and I think UPC of another person. You remember last time they were fighting in the Uganda House with Otuno and a group led by Otuno and a group led by Akana. DP now is for Mao and
Sabamala.
Yes.
And Dr. Lulume.
Dr. Lulume. FDC is Katonga and Najana Kumbe. NUP, we keep receiving people from NUP coming to us every day.
But clearly.
So we don't, if we are to waste
we have
time,
a minister from the UPC working with the NRM, in the NRM government.
That is the beauty.
And we have seen her voting in favor of the NRM
and
at the floor of parliament.
We are saying...
We have a minister now, just let me make this clear. We have a minister of justice, a very key docket, from the DP, the whole president of DP, minister in the NRM. So, what is...
the one of UPC is the first lady of UPC.
Exactly.
We are saying...
So what is between NRM and DP, NRM and UPC?
Now, that is the...
Should we call it a coalition? I just want that.
That is what I call classical definition of revolutionary methods of work. Come and work with us and maintain your color and your character. As long as you know that our main objective as Ugandans is to make sure Uganda is free, stable, and developing. I don't care where you belong. I don't care your party, but think about Uganda, then we shall work together. That is classical.
So they're just working with you?
You don't need to be in my party for me to work with you.
No. Right,
now,
Honorable.
That is why, that is why we are working with the DP, we are working with the UPC.
I'm borrowing 2 other minutes.
In 1986,
yes,
when NRA took over power, the first cabinet of NRA
had everybody.
90% was DP.
Yes.
If you may recall.
I had a chance to talk to the late Dr.
All those ministers were DP members.
Yes.
Now, not that we could not afford to have ministers, but we were sharing governance platform. Up to now, we still work with members of opposition. Even tomorrow, Chagolanye can come and work with NRM and he can maintain his organization as NUP. We do this.
Right, Honorable. This is what I want to know.
Not to interfere, but we want you to contribute to the development of your country.
In the video at State House when His Excellency received Honorable Norbert Mao.
I was there.
You were there.
Yes.
what was signed? This is what I would love the public to take. Was it a cooperation, an alliance, a partnership?
What was signed was a cooperation agreement that I will cooperate and work with you in areas of national interest and national development, but not that I have crossed to NRM. Mao did not cross to NRM. That agreement did not speak about crossing to NRM. Mao only said, I am going to cooperate and work for the benefit of this nation. I will participate in national development together with NRM, and I maintain my party and my logo of truth and justice. It's there in the agreement. We all sign and witness. And my chairman said, as long as you agree that we work together for the country, that is good enough. It's like practicing religion. That's why we don't have a state.
Is it the same circumstance with the UPC as well?
Same. Like in other parties, same. We have appointed members of other opposition parties in the boards. They are there, they are participating, they are working with us. But not to say if we were to interfere with their organizations, we would put it as a condition that before you sign to work with us, you have to leave your organization and come and work with us. But that is not a requirement. You can maintain your organization, we work together, as long as the country is peaceful. That is all we want as NRM. That means our objectives and purpose are bigger than just thinking in a narrow way.
You crossing.
To where?
We thank you so much.
What would be I cross to where?
No, the objectives are bigger than having you cross.
Exactly.
But of course, you may not cross physically.
No, but they all appreciating. The roads we are building, the peace and security in this country, everybody do appreciate. Even those in opposition say, but at least NRM has tried. There is total peace in this country. That you can drive from one corner of Uganda to another, even at night, nobody disturbs you on the road.
What do you think about this irony now?
The military is
UPC,
extremely disciplined. In the past, in the past, it was even risky to exchange with a soldier. But now people are busy exchanging with the soldiers. Yes. You see soldiers disarming, civilians disarming soldiers. In the past, would you do that?
Isn't this an irony that now, as far as I know, the Honorable Akena actually announced at the floor of Parliament he's going to stand for president?
It's okay. Even Mao contested in the last election, but still we brought him in and signed a memorandum of cooperation with him. So it's okay. They participate. We allow participation. We know they cannot win.
His name is the Right Honorable Richard Todwong. He's not a new face on the show, and whenever we get to him, we try to get the real information, and he's free to share it. That is what we had with the NRM. Be with us as we visit another political party. My name is Michael Jordan Lukomwa with Stephen Kalisha and the main man, Davis Kamkama. We wish you the best of the night. Bye-bye.